and John Snow. John Snow's in the house, Ross Mortgage, team member of Scott Morris. We love Scotty Morris. Scotty Morris, we love you, my friend. Today's show is going to be dynamite. If you are confused or wondering what's going on out there, here's a chance to talk to an expert. And that's what this show is all about, a chance for you to talk with an expert. You will be bombarded over the next 24 to 48 hours with mortgage rates now at 6 and higher for the first time since June 2008. You cannot turn on the national media without hearing this story. I have my phone go off at 6:15 a.m. It immediately starts playing CNBC on podcasts. Literally at 6:15 when my phone went off, it's the first thing I heard. My head was on the pillow. Comments are already coming in for John Snow. Literally. Comments are already coming in. The show has not even started. So get ready, John Snow.
So what time did you wake up this morning, John?
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
There you go.
Get ready, John Snow.
I must be an old dude thing, man, because I was up at 4:30. I got to have to fix that.
4:30?
Yep.
Wow. That's early. All right, give the show a like and a share anywhere you guys are watching. We're going to have a good time today on a Wednesday. Judah Wickhauer, you get that studio camera rocking for us, and we'll get cracking here in a matter of moments on the I Love CVille Network and Real Talk with Keith Smith, one of the best shows in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Second best show.
They're all great. They all
great.
have different niches. Your niche is a little more real estate oriented, which we absolutely love. Ours is all around news oriented, which we also love. J-Dubs, we can crack when you're ready. Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. A pleasure to connect with you through the I Love CVille Network, where this show airs on every single social media platform known to mankind. John Snow is in the house. You will recognize and meet him in a matter of moments. This guy has a big, beautiful brain, and we're going to be talking rates. John Snow of Ross Mortgage. Keith Smith, a mere seconds away. The show is presented by Yes Realty Partners and Keller Williams Alliance. The show is powered by Ross Mortgage. If you need a name and a company you can count on to navigate this volatile and tumultuous time, it is Ross Mortgage. Count on people in the market, people that you can have face-to-face discussions with like we're doing right now. Judah Wickhauer, let's go to the studio camera and let's welcome the panel of experts. Keith Smith, John Snow. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. I was just looking at my little run the show cheat sheet. This is 366.
366 for Real Talk.
Show 366. And thank you, John, for being the star of show number 366.
We have done on this network in totality, I did a little over 5,100 shows.
Oh, my God.
Think about that.
That's awesome.
A little over 5,100 shows.
Over length of how long?
Over the length of the entire I Love CVille Network.
Wow.
That says something. Now, enough about us. John Snow, the show is yours. Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
Good morning, Charlottesville. My name is John Snow with Ross Mortgage, and happy to be here talking a little real estate with Jerry and Keith. And, they said it last week. It was going to be painful, and it's starting to. The pain is starting to show up.
So let's start off a little bit about yourself. You're a local guy, right? You were born and raised and live here. Some of us or come here, as I came here in '86. Jerry, I can't remember the exact.
2000.
2000
Yeah.
on that end of it. So, before we get into rates and where the real estate's going and your crystal ball, which we actually have them, and we have little wands too, if you want them. You've been here your whole life. So what has the number one thing that has changed that stood out in your mind that's really kind of kind of went like an oh aha moment. Excuse me, that is different.
Yeah. I mean, Charlottesville it's such a dynamic place, and it's a great place to call home. I'm so fortunate that this is where I was born and chose to stay here. My family's from here, so it's just a very connected area with a sense of community and accountability that it's just hard to find in other places. So what I've seen over the years is just that continuation of just people showing the willingness and ability to get together and be a family.
I found it to be super open, particularly for a Yankee.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's all are welcome, and it's.
We know, yeah. So the difference between a Yankee and a damn Yankee, right?
I do not.
The damn Yankee stays.
I know.
A regular Yankee.
Now tell the Lake Monticello gate joke, Keith. I've heard this joke so many times.
Remember,
why do they build the gates at Lake Monticello, Keith?
Remember show 366, we spent too much time together. So the joke is that they've built gates around Lake Monticello to keep the Yankees in.
Keep them in.
Keep them in. So look, you kind of kicked it off, right? We 6% rates, right? Looks like it's going to go north. We've got some unpleasantness coming down the road, which is meaning, okay, I think this is going to creep to 7% or God forbid more.
It's going to be higher.
More than that, right? First-time home buyer, right? So if a first-time home buyer comes and talks to you and they're concerned, tell me what that conversation looks like, right? I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm looking at rates. I want to buy, right? What does that conversation look like?
Well, it can go a couple different ways, Keith. One would be, let's get you pre-qualified as, ASAP and see
Sure.
how strong, of an offer we can put in for the, house that you hopefully have found. But if you're shopping, it is difficult. So it is hard for people to get into the market at this point as a first-time buyer. Probably don't see that changing anytime soon. But hopefully, as the rates do come up, it gets rid of some of this maybe investor money that's popping up these houses and putting in some of these offers that keep the first-time homeowners offer as kind of weak on paper, and hopefully there'll be a silver lining to some of this.
So what do you think that silver line? I mean, John. So we're up at 6%, 7%. I was in a meeting last week in Washington D.C. Somebody even threw the 8 number out there. That has a huge impact, particularly on the first-time home buyer, right? Because their buying power reduces substantially as that interest rate goes up on that end of it. On the flip side, on the higher end, it doesn't potentially impact the higher end that much because they can bring a little bit more cash to the table to kind of
Buy points down or pay for the property in full cash.
That's exactly right. So thank you, Jerry. So in your experience, are you seeing some folks wishing to buy points down?
Yeah. I mean, we typically will see a little bit of participation. So yeah, it's a case by case. It really is a case by case.
So what is it? So for those who do not know what a buy down is, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like, right? Well, and so if I have the ability to buy a 6 down to a 5.5, how does that process work?
We gotta bring more cash to close.
Yeah, so what I can do is in the beginning of the process, I can go ahead and say, okay, John, is it a point or half a point or whatever it is to go ahead and reduce that interest rate, okay, or just bring the cash to the closing table so I'm borrowing less money. The result's somewhat similar, right?
It really is.
When you work out the math.
So I'll tell you what, John, what's the expectation for the business here? How do we drive, everyone's on the real estate supply chain. Mm-hmm. And whether we want to admit we're on the real estate supply chain, if you're a homeowner, you're on the real estate supply chain. Mm-hmm. If you're renting property in Central Virginia, you're on the real estate supply chain.
That's right.
We're all tied to this. We know the impact this industry has. How do we manage expectations with clients? How do we keep craziness from happening out there? I think everyone realizes that the 6%, the 30-year fix is at now, the first time since 2008. This is not the ceiling. It's going to go higher. Mm-hmm. We have Jay Powell talking in T-minus 6 days about another Fed hike. Mm-hmm. After the hot inflation number from yesterday, the expectation is a full basis point increase. The expectation in October is minimum of a half a point basis point increase. And now the chatter is November, they're going to do another one. Now, we know that there is not a direct correlation with what the Fed is doing in mortgage rates, but there is undoubtedly an indirect
Absolutely.
correlation.
100%.
Anywhere you want to go on this topic, just offer some insight to the many folks watching.
Golly. Just getting locked in as soon as possible. If you can find a property, don't hesitate. If you're in the Charlottesville area, this market is solid. I would just recommend moving forward sooner versus later. Right now, it does appear that it's going to go higher. So there is very little concern, in my opinion, about a crash. Most buyers that are in homes now are very, very qualified buyers. So I do not see a tipping point or a retreat of prices. I do see acceleration slowing, but by no means is the property going to be devalued in a year or two like we saw in 2008.
So I read just to kind of pivot a little bit here, I read an article this morning in Moody's that one of Jerry and I have been talking about this for some time, one of my concerns about the overall market is inflation, right? And a lot of what we're talking about here is inflationary pressure on that. And it was really interesting. The article was saying the average American, I'm quoting Moody's here, not my data, on that, they're paying $450 a month more than they were paying prior to this uptick of inflation. And it's funny because I read that and I asked my wife on the way in this morning, I said, because she holds the purse strings, I'm not allowed to do that for a very specific reason. I actually have a debit card that has a dollar amount on it. I'm not allowed to
Smart lady, Yona.
to spend over. Very smart lady, and part of the problem with a bike shop next to my office, that number got reduced drastically. Okay, he can buy 1 cup of coffee a day. That's the only amount of money that goes on the card. Thank you, honey. But so I started asking her, what are we paying? Because she runs the household budget. Our electric bill went up like $200 a month.
Yep.
Which is great. Because Segura Solar is actually coming to put solar panels on our houses. We're on the queue, so we don't. On my house, excuse me. I don't know when we're going to get there, but they're going to lock in. I think the bill came in. Jonas said something almost close to $500 for last month for electric, which is insane.
And there's 2 people in your house.
Well, we got the dog and
it's
the cat.
It's you, Yona, and a dog.
And a cat.
And it's $500 a month.
Yeah.
Think about that.
480 something.
Let's think about the people that have you, Yona, and some kids.
Oh, unbelievable! Yeah. I mean, and we, we don't do loads and loads and loads of wash, right? We'll do.
There's 2 people.
There's 2 people.
Yeah.
We'll do a load of wash like every couple of weeks because we just don't have a house full of people, right? On all that stuff. So we're putting Segura, one of our wonderful sponsors, Segura Solar on there. That's going to reduce that bill or keep it at somewhere between $250 and $275. They haven't quite given us the analytics yet on it, but that's going to be locked in for 20 years.
Sure.
On that end of it, she was talking to me about, steaks. Food is more.
Well, I got a stat for you. The Food at Home Index, a good proxy for grocery prices, has increased 13.5% over the past year, the largest such increase since March 1979.
Yeah.
That's right.
Raise your hand if you remember 79.
That was before my time right there. 1981 for me here. But the largest increase since March 1979.
Yeah, so we, again, at the beginning of the end of last year and the beginning of this year, Jerry was asking me what my concern was. And I think that's it. And that's starting to creep in. How we got there, why we got there is a whole separate argument for a different day. But it's impacting down. One of the things I love about what we do, what every one of us do here for a living, is we basically touch either one of the 3 things: shelter, food, and clothing. Right. So we're in one of them, which is shelter. Right. And food and clothing is the other 2 big items. But when those start going out of control in costs, which I think we are at this point now, housing is just is going to take somewhat of a, let's say, a softball in the face. Not a hard ball, but a softball in the face to go ahead and do that. So I've been babbling a little bit. Anything you want to jump in on?
Well,
this?
I mean, yeah, people people have to have a place to live. I mean, you cannot buy that, name brand shirt and maybe go with something different. But I mean, as far as where you're going to, sleep at night, I mean, that's a problem that everybody has, and there's no getting around it. And maybe you don't want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to wash your clothes to save a buck. So the realities are. I know the realities are real, and they're not. Doesn't appear like they're going away. So these are real life problems, and it's good to be able to be in an industry that can help hopefully solve one of those problems. For people in the community.
Joanne Mackey, love you, Joanne Mackey. She's the queen of Keswick. That's what we've dubbed her. She says, when I purchased my first house in 1978, Keith and John, it was in Fairfax, and mortgage rates were 23%.
Yep.
Serious inflation as well, and why rates were so high then. Where are the professionals who were around this area at that time? And this is an interesting show for sure.
Well, so I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, these two both were. Yeah.
Well, I purchased my home in Albemarle County in 2001, and I believe my first rate, I think, was 6.75.
My first home in Albemarle County was 2006, and my rate was 6.18. 6 1/8. Excuse me, 6 1/8. And I was jumping in the streets and happy to get it.
Right.
At 6 1/8.
Sure.
It wasn't like, this stings, this is terrible. The problem is the American consumer and the American buyer grew to expect 3% and 4% rates.
They did.
And then when we got trained that this is the mortgage rate,
Right.
when we see 6, we freak out. But this has happened before.
Correct.
So I tell this to my wife all the time. Why can't I be right about the winning lottery ticket numbers? We're right about things like this, and we talked about this for months, and actually a year. And every time there was a 3%, 2.5%, we said, guys, this isn't normal. They'll get used to this.
That's right.
Normal is maybe where we are at now, right?
That's right.
Historically, maybe normal is 6. I don't have the data in front of me. If I remember, I think since '72, the average is somewhere around 7%, 7.2.
I will say this: the last time the rates have gotten to this level was 2008. So we've had a 14-year run.
Correct.
Of rates below 6.
That's correct.
And 14 years is a generation. That's a long period of time right there of people being trained for rates below 6.
It's a generation, but it's even between 2 to 3 turnovers of homes.
Right.
Right, because the average person
It's not 9 now. It previously was 7.
Correct, and at one point, back in when it started in 2008, it was 5.
Right.
So we went from 5 to 7 to 8 to 10 years staying in their home on that end of it. The Smiths tend to stay in there for decades. Actually, Keith tends to stay.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're not selling now. You're not going to sell it now.
I disagree.
Okay. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to buy? Are you going to buy something with a rate that's considerably higher than you have now?
No, but I'm blessed, right? So I paid my house down so much.
I get it, but if you sell it, where are you going to go and what are you going to buy?
So there's a flip side to that, right? So I'm looking at it right now. The last 7 days, which I talk about all the time, we're on par. 89 came on the car for about 90, but inventory's picking up a little bit. Look.
My wife and I are literally going through this right now. As we said on Monday's show, we got a cold call offer on our house that was substantially higher than what we paid.
Okay.
Substantially. We would cash out with a bag of money. Where are we going to go?
That's right.
And what are we going to buy?
Right.
And when we do it, what's the rate going to be?
So
and how's that impact the monthly payment? We did the numbers and the math. Even we were fortunate, we'd be able to put 20% down on it. I'd be able to lock in drop some points, bring some money at closing. I'd be able to do some remodeling. Still, the delta between what I'm paying now and what it will be
going up, or your quality of living is going down.
There you go, literally. And we're not struggling.
Yeah.
We are not struggling.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly. So, for me, it's a balance. So this is a very personal thing. And in each transaction, and you see this, John, right? Every client that you talk to, it's not a macro conversation, right? It's a very, okay, what's going on in your life? What can we do to help check those particular boxes? What is the tools I have in my toolbox to help Keith at this specific time. But in my particular case, Jerry, I'm at a point right now that I know I can get a substantial price for my house because we're selling one up the street from us that.
Yeah, you said in the fives.
No, there's a coming soon, which I can't talk about, that's going to hit the market on Monday.
Okay, call it the sixes.
No, it's not that quite high on that end of it. But my point is in the $400,000 to $500,000 price range that we have a dozen people already just lined up, realtors lined up.
But where would you go?
I don't know. I think the Caribbean looks nice.
So you're move out of the country?
No. So, but you're 100% right. And this has been, and so you're getting in the middle, John, of a family dispute live in front of a bunch of people.
His wife wants to sell.
This has been my argument to my wife, frankly, is, okay, where are we going to go? I love my 3,600 square feet. I love my 2 acres. I love my stuff, right? But I love my wife more, so that's where we're going.
Sure.
But stuff like that. But you're 100% right. But the market, there's units and there's homes coming on and they're trading. And they're trading quickly, at the right location, at the right price, at the right feature, in the right conditions.
This comment's come in. Powell has said the Fed will do what it takes to bring core costs down.
I saw that.
Never something to learn to leave with. This is concerning. I mean, multiple people are seeing the news right now. And John, you have the fortune or misfortune, however you want to look at it, of coming on the show after yesterday's
just
bloodbath.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was down 5.16% with our portfolio yesterday. Mentioned that to my wife, showed her the number. Her jaw hit the table. Okay. Talk to us about what the clients are saying, what the folks across from the desk are saying. You are a calm guy, a reasonable guy. You're a guy that has experience and knows what he's doing. What do you pass it along to these clients?
Just hang on. Just hang on, stay the course. Don't panic. There's just a lot of unknowns out there, but the community, Charlottesville, one of the reasons why I'm here is because I do love Charlottesville, and I'm just really, really fortunate to live in this market, and we have a kind of a history of consistency here that a lot of communities just don't have. So it's just try to have that attitude of gratitude to be thankful of what we do have, which is the Charlottesville stability, and I just don't see it changing. So if you are lucky enough to find a house and get an offer accepted, that's just it's just all good. But finding those properties and getting people in it's difficult. So you just got to stay the course. Let's work the plan. And just stay patient. And if you've got trusted, partners, if you've got a good realtor, that are, working the coming soons and are just, staying on top of their game, it can help people get what they want, that end goal, which is a place to live that's affordable, that is, in line with what they're looking for.
Bravo. Well said. That was beautiful. Scott's going to love that. Can you cut that into a highlight clip and a sizzle reel? That's a sizzle reel with my question to his answer. You just handled that beautifully. Beautifully. Keith Smith, jump in here.
You got my wheels turning on the where to go. And I'm going to jump in here, which is I was not prepared to talk about today, but it's something that's been happening in the last couple of weeks that I think is going to make the inventory even tighter. The new construction, the development groups out there are now backing away from projects. They're
sprinting.
Yeah. Okay.
And we know we have a couple of them.
Yeah. So and it's interesting. So I'm looking at some stats here. The new construction market is dropping, and they're dropping drastically. The developers are moving from their B and C sites to their A sites, and they're canceling contracts. I see it happening on the ground, and they're backing off on selling, building new units. So what's going to happen here is this little balance, right? As new construction drops and we've not made up this 3 or 4 or 5 million, depending on who you talk to, units that were new construction units that were short from the time of great unpleasantness. So if they're dropping again and they're moving out of these are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of potential projects in the next 24 months, homes that are not coming to the market now. that's just going to, I don't know, I see how you feel about it, and definitely Jerry feels about it, but I think that's going to put more pressure on existing, which is going to make this decision of where to go even more complicated, and the need for a trusted advisor.
Scott Morris watching right now.
Hey, Scott.
He says, good morning, gentlemen. He says, contracts are getting canceled and specs are getting price reductions. It's happening everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Morris just literally put that in the feed. Scott, we love you. Scott Morris.
So it's
Sincerely mean that.
an interesting stat on that. So I'm reading through some slides on a National Home Builders Association presentation I was part of last week on that end of it. The one I'm looking at, single family, detached, new construction, single family, attached, all are dropping. The largest growth, multifamily.
Yeah, of course.
And it's odd.
Well, it makes perfect sense. It's like how you keep,
Does it really?
you share overhead. Multifamily, multi-generational. You have grandma, mom and dad, and the kids.
Yeah, well, they say that's
No,
the
these
solution.
these are multi-story apartment complexes.
Well, that also makes sense because you're sharing the cost of the dirt. The dirt's so expensive, you're spreading the overhead around.
Yeah, that's what affordable housing looks like, I believe. It's just carve up your house and
share the cost.
And share the cost. I mean, that's what affordable housing
Go
looks
down
like.
that road. This is good. You're onto something here. Tell us what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, you've got, Airbnbs, all these different phenomenons that are new to the market in the last, 10 to 15 years, and you have families that are having to collaborate to find a place to live affordably and eat at the same time. So you do have families that are joining together to, have more market power.
So you'll see
Sizzle reel that, Judah. That's good.
what they're called multi-generational families. That's different than multifamily, right? Multifamily are hundreds of unit apartment complexes on that. And the reason why I found that pretty interesting, Jerry, was in the 35 years I've been doing this, when interest rates start getting to this point, right, and inflation is, and we haven't even mentioned the word stagflation because I think that's coming next on that end of it. Usually multifamily market drops, takes a plummet. And it's interesting, multifamily is picking up. Now, a lot of that might have been because they were in the pipeline for a long time, right? Multifamily projects are tens upon tens of millions of dollars. They start years ago, and once that ball starts rolling, it doesn't stop. But, they're also looking at rent increases in double digits. So it's really interesting. I think it was Jason Kirby on Monday said that we've never seen anything like this before. And I think he's right. If I start looking back, these sets of datas and everything we have going on right now, I don't think anybody's ever seen before.
Absolutely. A lot of it's just cattywampus, if you will. It's just going in.
That was great right there. I like Jon Snow. Scott, this guy's legit, Scott.
Do you have any experience in the construction trades? Because that's
No.
an official term in the construction term. When you look at a wall that's going a little bit, that's a little cattywampus.
Cattywampus, man.
I haven't heard that in forever. Well done.
This is a good comment that's been put on the feed from Spencer, and Spencer is watching in Short Pump. He says, one thing to highlight on this show is when the market conditions get like this, the folks that truly have a lot of money start scooping up property because they have the cash to do it, and they don't leave it in the markets because the markets are so volatile. As Warren Buffett said, when folks are fearful, the wealthy, they get aggressive and greedy.
That's a fact.
It has always been that way. When the markets,
Great comment, Spencer.
When the markets go wacky, people get into dirt. And then when the markets get better, people get out of dirt and go into the market.
We had this conversation, I bring this up, we've had this conversation with the Erpies here. Like, if you have disposable income, would you take that disposable income and would you overpay your mortgage at the 4 or 5% clip? Or would you take that disposable income and would you throw it into the markets? The markets have been down on the course of this year, 23% down, the indices? Or would you say, I know for certain this disposable income I can throw against my mortgage at a 4% and I get that return and it's guaranteed? You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Opportunity cost. I mean, it's
opportunity cost.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing, and I mean, there's choices that are made, and a lot of people kind of piggyback on what you're saying is that, they're going to buy some investment property and try to capitalize that way. So I do believe the market is oversold, and so maybe.
So which market we're talking? Housing market?
We're talking stock market.
Stock market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then so we'll just, it is a very, it's just a trying time. It's just a trying time.
Yeah, so what Jerry is making a brilliant statement there, because how I define it when the conversation I have with first-time homebuyers in particular, right? Folks that have been in a couple of homes, a little bit more seasoned, they kind of know this already because they've just been in the system, but they've owned and went through. But first-time homebuyers, I always say, this extra payment towards your principal, right? This cash and to put in, you're paying yourself, right? You're giving you're increasing your own equity, your own
And
net
it's
worth.
guaranteed.
And
There is no risk. You have
Well-
a fixed mortgage
Well,
rate.
there is a risk, because the time of great unpleasantness, let's not paint it as
No. There is no risk. You
Yeah.
have to make these payments no matter what.
yeah, got it.
There is no
Got
risk.
it.
You're
Got it.
paying
Got it.
against the interest rate.
Got it.
There's no risk. You still have to make these payments.
And with all due respect to our loan officer, mortgage folks in here, but my second follow-up, though I talk to first-time homebuyers all the time, is, it's really simple. You're either going to pay the bank or you're going to pay yourself. So why don't you pay a little bit, instead of buying one of these $5 lattes,
Right.
whatever they are, you pay it to yourself. Pay it to your mortgage, pay it to your principal. Don't pay it to interest, but pay it to your principal, and you're paying yourself. And this really works. It was a light bulb moment for a couple of clients. I chair a land trust here that we help affordable housing folks buy it, and we had our first resales. And it was an amazing feeling to be at the end of it when they resaled it, and they walked out with $50,000 or $75,000 cash, to Jerry's point, in their pocket, to move up the housing ladder, right? To move up the housing continuum to buy a market rate house. But that's 100% right. You're paying yourself.
Absolutely.
There's really not that many assets that will ever
Here's
do
a
that.
perfect example. Joanne, you were smart. I sold, she said, in January, I saw the you-know-what coming. I sold most of my stocks, and I closed on a condo in Alexandria in April. I got a 3% rate. I transferred my one investment from stocks to dirt, and look at where I'm at now.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
Well said, Joanne Mackey. Scott watching the program right now. We love when Scott watches the program. He says, multifamily is also the 4 to 6 units on Rich Street that were split into apartment-style living. He's a huge fan of the ADUs, and he says, my thoughts on keeping construction momentum going, and builders with capital to do it have a responsibility to the industry to do so. So he's saying the builders have the responsibility to develop.
Yeah, so what you're going to see the builders start doing is they're going to start going to these outer rims, the green in our region, the green counties, the other side of the mountain, where they can produce single-family detached homes and attached homes in this 250, 350 range, right? That's where the market is, but the lag from today
Right.
to getting it rezoned, to getting the site plan done, to getting it built. My suspicion is the market is going to take a bit of a change by that point. But Scott's right. I mean, in the conversations I have with folks that are in this field, they feel the same thing, but they just don't know what to do next. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Grayson says, for John, how high are the rates going to go? Possible to tell, right?
I mean, well, some of it's built in. So if I knew that, boy.
Do you get that all the time?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, people are concerned. It's just what people know to ask. So.
But is it different today than it was 3 months ago? Is there more acceptance of the rate changing now than it was 3 months ago? So was the conversation 3 months ago, oh my God, the sky is falling, to maybe now it's more, okay, got it, this is the new reality, how can we work around this, how can we work together? What's that conversation look like?
I think through the year, it has morphed in and away from the housing kind of crash into, okay, it's not going to crash, it's just everything is just going to get more expensive.
So do you actually get that conversation? Is the housing going to crash?
I did. Yeah, as of 3-4 months ago, it was sort of the idea of we're going to wait till the end of the year till this sort of dies down, and then we're going to hop back in. And most of those people now are kind of wishing that they had to just move forward at that point.
Yeah, we're seeing on our side of the ledger people that were particularly on the sales side, the listing side. We're starting to see an uptick of a tempo of people saying, "I'm ready to put the house on the market. I want to." They've been waiting. They are now want to do that. That's the reason why we've got a bunch of listings coming up, quite a few actually listings coming up on that end of it. But they all want to be in now and kind of done before Thanksgiving, right? So now that's starting to creep itself into it, right? I want to sell my house, and now that where am I going to go for Thanksgiving? Where am I going to go for Christmas on that end of it?
More comments coming in for John. John, can you give some insight into what kind of lock programs you have and how long the window is for the rate lock? That is a tough question, right?
Yeah,
the rates are moving, aren't they?
They are moving. We can lock it up to 120 days for a small fee, and so you can go up to 120 days if necessary.
That's actually not bad.
120 days is legit.
That's actually really good.
It's going to cost you a little bit, but
how much are we talking?
I'd have to
half a point,
roughly.
Like that?
I mean, I'd have to look at it, and but you can do it.
But it's not 10%, or it's
correct.
Not.
Well, and that was one of those market things that has dictated an extending a lock period. So that people can feel good about getting in an uncertain market. So we actually had a corporate program extending that lock period.
So you had like shop and lock, right? Is that what that 120 days is?
It's just an extension to give people that ability with markets, that just accelerating. It gives people that feel good that they're still viable at a price point.
Did you think a year ago we would be having this conversation?
Dude, did you think, not even a year ago, did you think like March?
I know, right. That's it. That's where the
April.
transition, yes. Yeah, it was March is where it just kind of went sideways, and we've been sideways since. But, like I said, the good news is that we're talking real estate here. It is the most viable wealth creation, ever created. And it's not going to change. And just look at the stock market. It's so volatile, and you just never see that kind of volatility in real estate. And if you're looking at creating wealth, real estate today is still the best way to go.
Amen. 100% agree with that. Jason Howard, the king of Rio. King of Rio, lives on Rio Road. He's got something for you. You're a popular guy. You're a popular guy here. Jason Howard says, with the higher rates for the first-time home buyer and double-digit rent increases, do you see this compounding local businesses and government difficulties with finding staff? You've highlighted local police staff shortages, bus driver shortages in the past, Jerry. Restaurants are still being limited from an hour standpoint because they can't find labor. Other small businesses are not getting applications for full-time positions, and even larger grocery stores have eliminated 24-hour services. After midnight, your limited grocery option is something like 7-Eleven.
Oh, yeah.
Please ask John about this.
Oh, yeah, I feel it. Harris Teeter's closing at 10 o'clock. Things have changed. But that's...
And make sure you're, so the viewers can hear you. There we go. Super close, yeah. Yeah, so keep going. You're dropping knowledge here.
Yeah, we're not alone. I think that problem is everywhere, but, Charlottesville's, we've always had a kind of an issue with service here, so that has gotten,
worse.
A little bit worse.
What do you mean by service? You mean hiring people at the service level?
Wait staff. There's always had, issues here in the Ville with fawning.
Oh, the Ville.
I love it. I love it.
So,
this guy shoots it straight. That's what I like that about you. You shoot it straight.
I've been in this community a long time. If you're not a straight shooter in this community, you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro. Kevin, I love when you chime in on the show. For John Snow, will the next financing tool be the balloon mortgage, John?
God, I hope not. I
think that's a sizzle reel right there.
Well, Well, I mean, just shows he's an honest guy.
Yeah.
And he understands
Yeah.
the
Anytime
the
you get
precarious
into-
nature of it.
Yeah, anytime you get into some of those exotic products, you're kind of asking for trouble, and I just hope we don't go in that direction.
Are you hearing any scuttlebutt about that?
I mean, not really, not in my own personal experience, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, there are going to be some more aggressive lenders out there that are going to, produce some exotic products, and we'll just have to see what the market bears. But yeah, we'll just have to take a wait and see on that.
I'm not so sure I'm good with the term exotic. I kind of think something else and go a whole different direction. But,
Well, yeah.
but exotic
Well, like
the exotic is the right word.
Yeah.
It's out there, on the fringe. And again, it's why what we've been doing here for 366 shows and bringing in the guests like yourself in there is to be, like we were talking about yesterday, I said, we need to be transparent and honest because everybody that's on that feed that Jerry's watching,
Oh, dude, they see through it.
they see through it,
Yeah.
they catch it. So this is what we try to do is we try to be authentic and actually we try to be fearlessly authentic on the show. So thank you for doing that. But yeah, it's, we talk about if once you get to these exotic products and they get out there and they start doing it, it's what got us into trouble in the last time. And that is my only fear.
Yeah.
If the regulatory nature does not change, right? And it stays and it keeps the lending requirements tight, for
Right.
lack of a better term.
Yes.
On that end of it, we'll do fine.
I agree.
If they start changing it.
Yeah.
Kevin asked John, do you call those predatory, the balloons?
Again, I haven't really had an personal experience with those products, but it's hard to argue with some of the predatory nature of lenders. But at the same time, some of these regulations have really curtailed those practices, and that's where we're at today, and that's what hopefully will keep our market afloat through all of this, turbulence that we're about to experience. Is that people that are in these homes in 2020, in the 2020s, are qualified buyers. So I don't think you're going to have a lot of, unsupported paper out there that creates a bit of a vacuum in a fall. So. But there's always going to be people out there trying to make a buck, and some people are going to be trying to help people, figure out ways to get into homes. So it's kind of each case will have to bear itself out to see what it really is going to be.
Cut that into a reel. That's the third one right there. Mark that one. That was nice, John.
So they answer the question, Kevin, directly. Yes, they will be predatory.
Yeah, of
if they
course.
come out, they will be predatory. They will be predatory on the folks that are least least ability in the neighborhood or in the community here. They will prey on them and
And they could. And then, but the
if
flip
it's
side,
allowed, it'll happen.
right? But then the flip side could be, maybe we have a well-qualified buyer that goes into a different type of loan that isn't present today because of what the market is doing. So we'll just have to see.
So it's a double-edged sword,
It
right?
is. It very much is.
So
I could see it working for like a man or woman that's going through medical school that's a doctor, that's looking for
doctor.
something like a 5-year balloon where in 5 years they go from $60K a year because they're in fellowship
Right.
to like 400.
Exactly.
That right there, it's applicable. Where it's not applicable is someone that like is on the financial margin, that is just trying to get out of house
Right.
and try to get out of this crappy rent situation because the rent's so high, and then in 5 years they're like, the balloon comes and they can't afford it, and then they lose their house.
Right.
So this is a discussion we've been having for several weeks on the show, right?
Okay.
And that's why the term trusted advisor is important. We talked about it on Monday with Nikki Chambliss and Jason Kirby. And I know we do it. I'm confident you do it, but I'm going to throw it out to your way. If you're sitting down with Keith and I'm on the margin and you really think, hey guys, maybe you should work on building your credit a little bit more. Maybe you should work on raising a little bit of money. This is how I can help you do that and come back at a certain period of time. Then we can go in and tackle it. I mean, you have those conversations, right? With folks?
Absolutely. Yes, regularly.
Yeah, so the thing is, trusted advisor, everybody on our partner tab on the Keith Smith, Real Talk with Keith Smith, these are all trusted advisors. These are people that are going to be honest and transparent with you. Back to the other side, we spent a few minutes yesterday together, didn't really tell you too much about my life story. Of those who watched the show know that Yona and I lost $17 million. We lost everything we had in the time of great unpleasantness. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I can't come to you and borrow money because of that. It'll follow me as long as we go. And, that bothers me to a certain degree, but I'm also happy.
Explain why.
It's because we financially are in a great spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're blessed. We do very well. We've done 180 degrees. Everybody that's watching and everybody's part of our lives has helped us do here. Jerry has helped us. Everybody in our lives has helped us get to the point we are right now. Financially, I can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
I can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's boxes that has to be checked because of the regulatory requirements, because the difficulty of financing right now. If I walked in and said, hey, I want to buy Jerry's house for $800,000, $1 million, whatever it is, and I don't mean to be facetious, and I'm thankful, but I can do it. Financially, I can do it. But I can't get a loan because this is back.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword, right? It's hurting me a little bit on that end of it, but I'd like to see lending requirements loosen up to go, hey, okay, God forbid, stated income loans, to God forbid they come back on it, but that would help me. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I can, kind of relate. I don't know exactly the nature of what you're describing, but, I had a foreclosure on a rental property, years ago that, went through a divorce and had to wait, 7 years to refinance my home.
Well, I can assure you that 7 years is BS. It's BS because it shows back up. It's very interesting.
Well, let the man finish that. You were showcasing a little vulnerability there. The viewers and listeners appreciate that. Finish that thought.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was a situation where rates dipped, and I couldn't jump back in because of and I had a divorce decree that said that I wasn't responsible, X, Y, and Z. And it just didn't work out. But yeah, I was out of the market due to no fault of my own for a period of time, and wasn't able to execute on some of the lowest rates that were available at that time. So yeah, I mean, but the good news is that there are some safeguards, and I know in particular, they're not working out for you to leverage your money in a way that you would like, but those same safeguards are what's going to guide us through all this tumultuous times that are ahead.
That was awesome. Dude, that was awesome. Dude, I know we're doing 3, but let's do the 4th right there on a highlight clip. I mean, the highlight clips, I don't know if you're familiar with, we chop the show up at the shorter clips,
okay,
and then we push them out throughout the week.
Okay.
That was like genuine.
Yeah.
People appreciate that because it's cut to the chase. Everyone goes through trials. It's not unique to one person. And when you're honest with it, it makes you even more likable and trustworthy. Woody and Paul are watching. Woody Fitcham and Associates. I'm going to say it again. One of the best appraisers in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Fitcham and Associates. He says, adjustable rates and balloons are for very well-educated borrowers on the value and use of money, people that know what they're doing. It's not for John Q. Public. And Paul McCarter from Avenue, he's a realtor, says, like a lot of things, they are right for certain situations. And then Joanne on a different page says, someone that's coming to wealth or has earning potential in the near horizon, that could work for someone like that. The viewers and listeners are so smart, dude. You do not get things past the viewers and listeners on this network here.
And it's interesting. I'll tell you, almost every show I walk away learning a little bit from the viewers and listeners. A little bit. Thank you for sharing, man. And I apologize for stepping on you on the thing. I just got a little excited there for a minute. But you're 100% right. So, people ask why, right? There are these guardrails that are keeping us in between. When these guardrails start going away or start eroding or start moving outwards further, that's when we're going to go off the cliff and get ourselves into trouble. We're painful, right? I was in the exact same boat that you were in, right? Tried to take advantage of the 3%. I couldn't because of this event that happened. It was no fault of my own, right? I didn't I didn't create the time of great unpleasantness. Just got caught up in it, but we couldn't refinance it. I drove poor Scott Morris nuts. What about now? What about now? No, Keith. No, Keith. What about now? No, Keith. Okay. So it's thank you for being honest. And,
Neil Williamson, builders build what the market wants at the price the market will accept and at the rate the market will bear.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of was talking about what you were saying a little bit ago about how builders will kind of morph into, like with the mixed use, what they end up building. I was curious, how long does it take to get those permits in line? How long does it trail the market?
He knows this very, very well.
Yeah.
Too long.
Yeah.
That's a
I mean,
short
are we
answer.
talking
So how about them Mets?
Dude, it's so brutal. It's so long.
So I'll give a real life example.
This is terrifying.
The subdivision I live in right now, called the Acres, was 97. I bought the last 150 acres inside of Lake Monticello that wasn't developed. I developed it into 150 lots and called it the Acres.
Okay.
I did not have a trusted marketing and branding guy in my life at that point, so I came up with the name the Acres, very original, right? Because all the lots were an acre on that end of it. But
That's a good name, Keith.
I was going to say, I think it worked.
What do you always say about the builder? The builder and the developer can do anything when it comes to a house, but then you have them name the roads, and what do?
They freak out.
They freak out.
Literally, they freak out. So there's a, I don't think I've ever told you this. So naming streets make developers and builders freak out. So there's an actual thing on the web where there's 3 columns. You want to name a subdivision, you pick one name from one column, one name from the middle column, one name to the third column.
I think that's why we see a lot of Maple Street.
Well, that's why subdivisions, you always see 3 names, right? Or, a minimum of 2 names. It's not just one name. And literally, there is a document. God, I got it in 1987, so it had to have been around long before that. But anyway, in 1997, 150 acres, 150 lots, central water and sewer, had to rezone it, had to go through site plan. It took me 6 months by the time I signed the contract to buy the land and put my first bulldozer on the job site.
Neil Williamson, building permits in Albemarle County, John, take 90 to 120 days.
That's the building permit.
Just the building permits.
That's just the build. That came after.
So put this in perspective.
We just did just to put it in perspective, I just helped a client do a project in Fluvanna County. We are now pushing third after 6 years. So it went from 6 months to 6 years.
So let's just
Same
talk
county.
the building permit, 90 to 120 days. In March, rates, in early March, late February, rates were in mid 3s? 90 to 120 days would be 4 months later. That would be late July, August, rates were 5 and change. So they jumped 2+ points in 90 to 120 days. So if you're a builder and you're trying to build a house and it takes 120 days to get a permit and rates jump 2+ points and you're financing this development, right?
So we talk about.
Think about that.
Yeah.
We talk about how the restaurants got hit in COVID. Think about the builders, right? So they went from a year ago, lumber tripling, right? And all that stuff. Now they finally get that under control and they take 120 days to get a building permit. They just can never catch up on this end of it, and it just keeps on growing. But Neil,
Neil's going to be here Friday.
Neil's going to be here Friday. I've got a doctor's appointment I need to go to, and Neil is going to sit in my seat and be Batman. But we haven't decided which version of Batman yet. Was he? I'm the Adam West version. Was he like the Dark Knight one? I think maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what Neil wants.
David Caron, Jon Snow was my guy at Jim Price. I had to buy a new car this year, and without him, it was absolutely miserable.
My man Dave.
That literally put that on the feed. Michael Buchensky is in the game, First Heritage Mortgage. He says, any product, non-predatory, could be right for a vast amount of borrowers. I think the key is proper financial education for a client, budget analysis, future life planning to make the right decisions. There are so many factors in making a solid home buying and financing decision. Having the right financial team behind you is the difference between home ownership and affordability versus the bottom falling out on you.
So that whole sentence, that whole comment, thank you, Michael, we weren't talking about rates. We weren't talking about financial pictures. We were talking about how we're going to serve the client, how we're going to serve our buyer or our seller, whatever it is. And thank you for Michael for chiming in on that. And that's the thing. And that's where times like this, we need trusted advisors like John, like Michael, maybe Mike myself, to go ahead and help you navigate through the process.
More comments coming in. Kevin, in 07-08, the first tool was the adjustable rate mortgage, then the unverified income, then the appraisals, the balloons, and then the mass foreclosures. Can you ask John and Keith if they see this equation materializing again?
I do not. Personally, I do not. I believe that the ability to pay back has been factored in. And so, having said that, for it to crash, a lot of other dominoes would have to fall. I just don't see that happening this time around. It's a totally different scenario in my view. But it still doesn't compromise or change how hard it is to actually get into the market. But as far as anything beyond that, it's I just don't see a.
Well, it's two sides, right? The two discussions. Getting into the market is difficult, right?
It is.
That's when you need your trusted advisors. But I think the question's more focused on now in it. Is this a good investment? Am I doing the right thing? Is this going to fall apart? Or like 2008, 2009, and we get this question, if not every show, almost every show on that end of it.
Understandably.
Absolutely, because
it's unknown.
Dude, because 2008 was brutal.
Yeah.
That's why.
Look who
And
you're
people
telling. Yeah.
They got, and
Yeah, I know. And and Jerry, the fact that we're having that conversation and the fact that people haven't forgot that
it's good.
is actually a great thing.
No doubt.
Agreed.
It's actually a
Learn
great
from
thing.
history.
It's actually a great thing that we're actually having that conversation and we're being asked, so do you think it's going to go back? And I'm of the same opinion. I publicly have said it. At the moment, I don't see it happening. My only fear right now is inflation and the guardrails. And if those guardrails start really, going away or moving out on that end of it. The other item, and Woody Fincham is watching or listening, the
Michael Buczynski says Nina's are not coming back. And if memory serves correct, Michael Buczynski, a Nina is a no income, no asset loan.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's an acronym.
Yep.
I call them no doc loans, right?
Yeah, he
or
says
stated.
no income, no asset is that, right? He says those are not coming back. So that's a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hurts me personally because I would love one of them because I can do it, right? I can prove the capital, I can prove all that stuff. But I will gladly take that hit not to impact the whole market, right? Because that doesn't help anybody. Do that. But that's my reference to guardrails, right? So thank you, Michael, for sharing that.
Have you seen multiple folks are asking the role of the wealthy and the deep-pocketed person here when it comes to this market and how they're going to maneuver and pivot and strategize. Does anyone want to go down that road? We've touched on this already. I think the expectation is dumping some of that cash into dirt and into bricks and sticks, but you guys are the experts. How about you want to start first with that, John?
Sure. I think they've been doing it for quite some time. I think that's what this is all about, is trying to get some of that investor money out of this market. But, again, that's just my opinion. So we'll just, time will tell. But I do think that the investment opportunities from people with wealth are, because look at the market. I mean, they want to invest, like you said, Jerry, in dirt. It's tangible. It's right there. I mean, and it's proven to be the most successful vehicle to create, long-term wealth that's ever been. So
I literally don't think I can add anything to that.
That was perfect, dude.
And that's that's a rarity for me to shut up. So
Jon Snow's on point today, man. You're on point today.
I
dude.
literally can't add anything.
This is
to
fun, isn't it, John?
I love it.
Yeah. You came in here. This is first rodeo for Jon Snow on the network. His first rodeo, and I think he's atop the leaderboard right now.
Well, thank you.
Top of the
Well,
leaderboard.
for me personally, it's easy because I really do love Charlottesville. So anything I can do to help the community, that's what
You're
I'm here
also
for.
a person. You've got an awesome personality, which is great to this. Lake Monticello. Just talk about a little bit of market there, Jerry. There's only 15 houses on the market right now at Lake Monticello, and I use that because it's got 4,500 homes. It's 4,400 homes built. Excuse me, and cheapest home is $235. 13 days on market. It's funny, Jerry, when we were looking at this about 30 days ago, remember when we had a lot of 30s and 40s days on the market out at Lake Monticello? The highest right now that I'm looking at is 27. The median right now is 13 days. And it's interesting, the average and the median are the exact same number, 13 days, which when that starts matching, that's pretty much where we're at on that end of it. But it goes from 235 up to 300. There's only 4 homes under the price of $300,000 at Lake Monticello right now.
So what's that tell you?
That tells me that we got an inventory problem. The inventory issue hasn't gone away. So back to the money, the folks with capital or cash, they can be in the market, right? But the first-time home buyer, and I would argue that 300,000 probably isn't the first-time home buyer market, but whatever. Yeah. But at this $200,000 to $300,000 price range, just to pick a number, at Lake Monticello, which is has been the go-to place for decades for that type of buyer profile, there's only 4 houses to buy.
Right.
0 days on market, 1 days on market, 12 days on market, 16 days on market for those 4 units. And I can assure you, probably by the end of the week, they'll be
the first one's out.
The first one's out.
Woody Fincham, he's an appraiser. He has this question for Jon Snow. How long before 40 and 50-year notes show up?
Ooh, man, good gosh. As a car guy, I remember the 36-month loan, then it went to 48, 60,
there's
72,
7-year loans.
84 months.
Yeah.
So you can best believe it.
That I don't talk about predatory. That I don't get.
But I will say this: the 7-year loan on the car, especially during COVID,
that could be predatory.
It had a lot of no interest associated with it. Because early COVID, they couldn't get the cars off the lots. Now that's not the case.
Yeah.
The cars are flying off the lots.
Yeah, so
but early COVID, you were seeing 5-year loans, no interest.
Interest at any length of time is always a good thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
no interest for 12
Because
months.
you extend the term, you're lowering your monthly payment.
You're paying your car off. You're not paying the loan. You're not paying the bank or the lender that kind of money on that end of it. A product that depreciates right as soon as you roll it, right? That's still it was during COVID. It didn't, but we're kind of getting back to that now.
Yeah, that was
right?
definitely a one-off. A car is a depreciating asset, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's a depreciating asset versus an appreciating asset with a home.
Yeah, correct. So to answer the question, I don't think I personally would have a problem if they went in that direction because it is an appreciating asset, but we'll have to see where we go. But with these higher prices, elevated prices, certainly longer term, if you could keep the rate down, I mean that would answer a lot of questions.
40 to 50-year mortgage?
That's crazy.
How could someone ever pay that debt off?
You don't. So
they would just sell the house.
Yeah. So that's so the play there is
But the interest accrued on a 40 to 50-year mortgage is
they would have to adjust something on the front because of all of the.
So they would likely, if you go to a 40 to 50-year mortgage to keep the monthly payment in a controllable or manageable period, they would then likely have to, a few years from now, after this stabilizes, refinance.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the idea.
That would
or
be the
make
idea.
additional payments to the principal and sell the house.
But additional payments on a 40 to 50-year, what are you going to pay it off in 34 then?
Yeah, back to your comment, you're just putting it in your pocket. So even if I'm in the house for 5 years and I'm paying an extra $1,000 a year, it's $1,000 that's going to come back to you. But John, thank you, Jerry, for making me think of this. So when you sit down with somebody, I know the interest rate question comes up, but does hey, I can afford X dollars a month, how much, does the amount of money per month drive the loan or the interest rate? Did that make any sense, that question?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's, on a budget, and it's always too much. So typically what I will do if they're really serious about moving forward is we'll just get them some information from them and get them pre-qualified and let them know what kind of buying power they've got. And that is the easiest way to go about that particular scenario.
So I want to give a little tease for Monday. Woody Fincham is going to join us with Nikki Chambliss on Monday.
Love you, Woody. One of the best appraisers in the Commonwealth, Woody Fincham.
So I actually re-upped my Atom account because foreclosures are starting to pick up a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about foreclosures on. I know he's.
No, I mean
I'm
not. I'm just a realist and a common sense guy, and I shoot it straight on this show. And that's how we've been in business for 15 years and bought most of this building here. The foreclosures are going to. It's going to be a problem.
Well, that's the reason we're going to talk about it.
They're going to pick up in volume.
They've picked up.
We have the highest credit card debt in American history, over $16 trillion.
Yeah.
Wait till these car situations where people are going to become underwater on these loans on these cars.
Which is going to impact their homes.
It's going to impact everything. Yeah. The groceries are up 13.5% year over year. I mean, we're not. Jay Powell is straight up saying when he's talking to America that this will be painful.
Get ready.
I mean, he's warning us.
Get ready. Buckle up.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, am I misreading this?
No. Well, the man, if you take him at his word.
I mean, the dude has no reason to BS us, right? I mean, it's his reputation.
Sure. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about that because I've been reading with Anthem. It's not impacting our local market that much, but places like Baltimore and some of these other areas that's starting to creep into it. It's minimal compared to the time of great unpleasantness, the volume of it on it, but it is starting to change a little bit. And to Jerry's point, it's folks that maybe when interest rates were at 3%, got into more house than they could afford. That's the reason I was talking about, that we talk about how much I want to pay per month, not necessarily interest rate.
I'm not worried about the folks that got in at 3% that got it in more house than they can afford. I'm worried about the people that are getting in
But if they did it.
Or people that maybe had like a heat lock that, are getting ready to have triple their heat lock payment.
That's what I'm worried about.
And that's where you could have where the rubber will meet the road.
Well, I mentioned earlier about the Moody's at the $450. The problem is that if I went ahead and used all my cash to buy a house, I don't have a little bit of reserve, and I'm spending an extra $450 a month on food, on gas, on all that other stuff. The decisions are going to have to be made at this particular point. So I really want Woody's take on it because he sees this stuff on a daily basis. So we'll talk a little bit about that on Monday. Not a great length, but just kind of start. I think we're going to have to start creeping that into our conversations over the next several months.
John, we'll close the program on this. How can folks contact you? Folks, do you see what this man's about? Authenticity, straightforwardness, honesty, working with you through this tumultuous time. I mean, he straight up showcased vulnerability with talking about what he went through with the divorce. I mean, these are the type of folks that you want to do business with, the people with experience that have been there and done that. How can folks contact you, reach you, do business with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. If you know me, DM me. If not, we're in Culpeper and corporately based out of Detroit. So we've got about a 70 employee team of staff, 7 underwriters, a lot of different people in compliance. So we are, very, very much a trustworthy partner to go through this process with. And you can contact me at 434-825-8015 if you need to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. You crushed it today, dude.
Thank you, Jerry.
Seriously.
Thank you. Made it easy.
Thank you.
You too,
Keith Smith.
Do you want to talk about the text that we both just got from Neil on Fashion Square?
You can. I think...
or you want to tackle that at your noon show?
I got mall management coming on the show.
Got it. Everybody watch the noon show.
Yeah, I'm literally texting with them while doing this show right now.
Yeah. Watch
Texting with mall management.
Yeah, so everybody tune in at 12:30 for I Love Charlottesville. There's going to be a little bit of news coming out.
I mean, it's going to be
Yeah, I will let Mr. Miller handle that at 12:30.
breaking news.
Breaking news. Interesting. I love this show, man. We're getting texts
Breaking
from people
news.
as
I mean,
we're
I
talking.
literally am like,
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
guys, Keith Smith, Jon Snow, Jerry Miller, Real Talk with Keith Smith, presented by Ross Mortgage, Keller Williams Alliance, Yes Realty Partners, Judah Wickower, the North Star of our network and infrastructure. We need to highlight him as much as humanly possible. He keeps us online and looking young and sharp. The I Love Seville show is up in 1 hour and 6 minutes with news that will leave your mouth agape.
Everybody asks about Fashion Square Mall. Here's your opportunity to get some knowledge.
I'm going to leave it at that. Get ready and giddy up. Thank you kindly for joining us. The show is up in 1 hour and 5 minutes, 1 hour and 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
The good news is I'm driving to Roanoke. I'll be able to listen to it.
It's going to be impressive. So long, everybody. Thank you kindly for joining us. Well,
Thank you. So tell me about the mall. What's going on? 'Cause we